We already say we go talk about the importance of the education week. We go begin Monday, January 22nd and go done Friday, January 26th this year. Nabo, well the annual education and well the annual celebration of the education week. This now we could say salon government can celebrate them with partner them, non-government organizations them, development partners, they can celebrate themselves with the private sector, students them and self school picking them. Also they can bring together then different stakeholders them here for talk about the gain them when they don't make now the education sector, talk about the challenge them and safe way forward for improve the sector. Well, inside the studio, one for welcome, one Paris studio guest. Then we are Dr. Aja Ramatulai Wuri, we are the Minister of Tertiary and Higher Education. We're here for talk about this week. Good morning, ma, and welcome to the program. Good morning, Salon.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Dr. Aja Ramatulai Wuri, not the Minister of Tertiary and Higher Education. Well, first, before President Biobi appoint him as the Minister, he will work at the University of Salon as lecturer and researcher. Well, Madam Minister, now you first time this for come now Radio Democracy, one for welcome you. Before we talk about the annual education week, so waiting on the happen at the Ministry of Higher Education since you take office.
Thank you very much, and good morning to listeners. So before I take over at the Ministry of Technical and Higher Education, a lot of work been on the go on, and major scanner for build up on them work then. So for example, we launched the student loan scheme last year. But this nothing where they don't start years back. They don't set up a student loan scheme secretariat. They may not pilot the loan scheme. They may not pilot the loan scheme, and for postgraduate students then. And now we're in a position for introducing for undergraduate students then, both within universities and also vocational training. So the loan scheme now another way where the government don't think of how for provide access to higher and technical education. So before we've been getting granting aid scheme, which we're all familiar with, we introduced for with all good intentions, but unfortunately we get some unintended consequences. Then we decide at ministry level say if we begin look at alternative ways for provide access to education. So now I make the loan scheme come. So as until we get for be sustainable. We get for scale them up gradually. We start something new, you know, go just begin them, you make them big. So now small. We hope say as we gain momentum, as we pick up, and so go able for provide loans for more and more young people already access technical and higher education.
So how the students loan scheme don't they work? Because plenty people we then talk about students, say when they say loan, they get one or two challenge. The man go say, may I apply, they not call me because of this and this reason. So what in the ministry they look for before they award this loan to any student?
The student loan scheme secretariat getting the criteria and a very transparent process. And get a website, on the website, the criteria publish, and then you apply online because as a ministry, as a sector, we encourage people to do things using digital platforms. So you apply, the secretariat will look at your paperwork and then assess standing against the criteria. And if you meet the threshold, you continue. If not, then obviously you know go continue. But then get into criteria, and it's a very transparent process.
All right, as you just talk about the student loan scheme, let me take you back. Somebody we not go know the mandate of this ministry. Within the mandate of the Ministry of Tertiary and Higher Education.
Thank you very much. The Ministry of Technical and Higher Education, we deal with two arms. You get the technical vocational training arm, and they get the higher education arm. So technical vocational training, now the training where you use for build the middleman power. So these are the hands-on skills. And then so like carpentry, masonry, then kind of thing. And evidence don't show say in other parts of the world that you really need for push forward socio-economic development in addition to other things. And na Salon, we don't over the years we don't try very hard for improve upon that sector. But I'll come back to that later. The other arm of the ministry in the higher education arm, where they deal with the universities. So public universities and private universities. And we know within universities, you get a number of programs that we can embark on at undergraduate level, at postgraduate level. But collectively, or to the arms of the ministry, now for build upon the foundation where the Ministry of Basic and Senior Secondary don't provide, and make sure so we further capacitate with young people for get the skills the way they need for compete on the global market. We can say 21st century skills for compete within 21st century industries.
All right. Now, you mentioned about technical training. Now, what in the ministry don't they do for improve this sector? Because plenty people get thinking about somebody with the land carpentry, plumber and the rest. So what in the ministry don't they do for improve them people are then skills so that then self go get people inside where then go then show them then self go able be part of any sector so far.
I will start from when His Excellency splits the Ministry of Education into two. And then they're very significant for push forward vocational training, because now vocational training, there's a ministry we really focus on that now. So since 2018, a lot has been done. And as you rightly don't point out, unfortunately, there's a negative perception out there for say vocational training are for dropouts. And that is not the case. There's so many success stories in Sierra Leone and in other parts of the world we don't show. So vocational training really not for dropouts, not something we for consider as an afterthought. So at ministry level, Bokutin and the way the ministry don't do for change, Dandy. We go with government technical institutes them, where we try for capacitate and make sure say we get in terms of lecturers and for provide the tutors and for provide the didactic lectures, so the way they teach in a classroom, and then also for create the enabling environment for later able learn. Technical vocational training all about hands-on skills, so you need forget tools. So the try for make sure so we get the tools within the government technical institute. And USA will not get them with a leverage upon public-private partnerships and so for work with industries for say, okay, since we not get them at this point in time, let the young people and go out into these sectors and go on placement, industrial placements, where they go get these practical hands-on skills. And then they help because education business now all man business. So then they promote public-private partnerships. In addition to that, we roll out a dual apprenticeship policy where they support these industrial placements where I just mentioned, for we ensure so young people really get adequate training before they can able to go into the job market. We also think for say yes, we can make them go down that arm day, but we for think of employability at the end of it, because right now, as we don't say, we get this perception say now for dropout. So if we convince somebody for good day, we're done. If for in chances of being employed for be increased, but we know the realities. So we try for foster entrepreneurship skills in them while then they train. So at the end of it all, then go able to be employers. We get support from the World Bank. We get a skills development fund. We don't implement. We don't do considerably well. We don't surpass the target we been there in the initial proposal. And now they all now for make sure so the young people are fully capacitated. We also they review the regulatory tools. So we get the NCTVA Act. So then the agency where they oversee vocational training, where they strengthen that regulatory tool, because all the efforts there, so they put in place as a ministry, we want for ensure say we get the right regulatory tools for provide oversight. And then what we also do for change this perception, we like for next week's so at the International Week of Education celebration, we put together case studies of people who don't go through that route of education. We don't go talk about the experience, practical experience, within the opportunities, within the challenges, because we get for learn. Next week, you get for be a week where they self-reflect as well as a sector. Not we just go show to don't they do it good, but we challenges we self get for self-reflect and see how we can improve upon ourselves. So their videos and they would work on them now for showcase in the hope that yes, it will able contribute towards changing this perception where young people and get about vocational training, for let they really see the benefit.
So in all this, how best the ministry don't do for say people we say, for example, me I not learn better book, but I want for do them skills there, take them as their own profession, and glad for them like any other profession where somebody go learn.
the more we talk about vocational training, the more the message will go out say it's something waiting for consider, not a way you don't try everything that you can, that's something for consider from the onset. So now make would they do this kind of sensitization. There's so many other things that we don't plan for do dandy. And then we also because me I believe strongly in peer-to-peer learning. So the one that we don't go through the vocational training, then now we agents, we positive agents of change, then go advocate now to the company. We company, when I peer tell you something, you're more inclined for belief. So they also use their approach and they for let themselves tell their company and say vocational training, now for can yourself can get the skills the way you need.
So let's talk about the support where the ministry don't they give to university and colleges, them and say tertiary institution, owner don't they work with them because plenty say okay, society and can say then they strike for this and this. So how best the ministry, since you take over as minister, you don't come for say you able for address some and challenge them with them different lecturers themselves and then university, college and vocational institutions them don't they get.
So the current government don't place high emphasis on education. As we know, the first term, education was the flagship program. And the government commits over 20%, 21 to 22% of the national budget to education, just for reaffirm that position, they say education valuable. And even now, say, for the next 5 years, human capital developments are one of the big 5 game changers. So then they show the emphasis where the government don't put on education. But the reality is, as much as the government don't invest so much into education, we need more. And we don't recognize that they say financing within the higher education sector na historical challenge, not so today we don't get any challenge in. So when I take over last year, we meet with the relevant stakeholders, including the Ministry of Finance, we regulatory agencies, them, the university administration, the students, them, and we decide, say, let we go away somewhere and discuss in a very transparent manner. Waiting at the challenges, them, waiting at the existing situation, waiting they happen in other countries when it comes to innovative and sustainable ways of financing. Because even if we bring new ways of financing, if you're not sustainable, then na fragmentation, and that didn't really help anybody because you stop, you start, you stop, you start. So we been do that day last year, September, we all come together, we look at what's happening in countries that were similar to we own in terms of sustainable financing. And we don't, as a ministry, now something we work on for see how we can scale down the up. But we also get for link down the back because it will address challenges in terms of lecturers, their salaries and so on. And one thing I forget to mention, the current government don't take over 83% of lecturer salaries, and so the current government now they pay 83% of lecturer salary of lecturer salaries. So back to the sustainable financing. Once we don't get waiting work for we context, because it not mean say because we work na one country, we work na salary, we for look how we can apply them in we context. Once we don't know waiting are the different routes that we can use for complement government effort, then we as a ministry now go use that also as a way for provide financing to the universities, but also as a way for improve upon quality. So we think of coming up with performance-based financing, where they come up with indicators that we link to a national development goal, we link them back to what they happen at the region. So you get the African Union Agenda 2063, you get the Sustainable Development Goal when 2030. So we can come up with indicators there where we go use now for assess how universities and they perform. But these are all things that we think about. It's not been finalized yet. But another route still one for use. Two things then for make sure say there's sustainable financing for higher education so we can build upon we gains them, and also for use dandy for further improve upon quality and provide an enabling environment.
All right, Dr. Aja, you don't been at the ministry now for over 4 months. What's different you could do this time around for make sure say you handle some of the issues them within the Apple or improve on the work of the ministry?
So before, as you do in the introduction, me, I don't work within the university for 10 years. And in addition to being a lecturer, I mean, I've been also a researcher. And one thing I learn about research now for say, when you bring the relevant people in together and when I create that dialogue platform una bring una challenges them together. Una always we get and pan the sector. Una come up with the all man come up with the challenge. Then una co-create solutions together. Then all man they own that solution. So that's something we are intend for use. And like this retreat we I talk about now, been one thing and I say, oh, bring all man together, look come up with this solution. Because then they promote ownership, national ownership and leadership, because education now we own na the bedrock of development, and now everybody in business. So everybody gets a role for play. It's all hands on deck. So then I want to get for be very consultative approach. Make sure so you listen to everybody, and then on a co-create solutions. Yes, in some situations, you go get for come in and say, okay, this is a decision that I'm making, but you get for ensure so you don't listen to all the relevant parties them before you make that informed decision. And the background will also come from evidence, data. Now something where I really get for push forward, because then they go really inform policy and practice and make sure so we translate them from to relevant for we own context.
All right. Recently we broadcast a story from some students them who said they raised concern about the charges them we didn't say they don't add. As a minister, you are aware of some of them concerning the?
Absolutely. We are aware, and we don't start the dialogue with the university administrations about Dandy. So it's still ongoing. We're not finalized on it. But one thing we want to fully and define waiting at the challenges them and make sure say the services they provide, it should be provided. But like I say, it's an ongoing dialogue.
So in all this, you say on a deeper dialogue now with the universities, them more be specific when I commerce. So waiting actually then tell on during this dialogue saying that this is make we don't add any charges them here.
So the charges them, these other charges them, not for extra services them, like ID card, like student management system. I mentioned earlier, so it's kind for introduce technology into a way of doing things them, games and sports, then kind of thing. But I follow just make sure say we get for do comparative analysis. There should be some degree of harmonization for some of them, not all of them. So now then it's in the wood it's kind for iron out to the administration then. So these are not things out of the ordinary. And things and services then where the students can potentially get, but we therefore ensure say measures are put in place for if then they pay, the services are being provided.
So what the ministry don't do for say they monitor the different university, more especially for the charges them when they can ask students them for pay, then they receive them, because plenty of them students then can say then they say don't pay for ABC, but we go need to get them or you know go get them quick. So what the ministry don't do for say if the university then say with the add okay, but let the student then get waiting they want that then call them value for money.
Definitely, and as a ministry, we definitely get for ensure say there's value for money. So this is not all part of the dialogue. We all talk, we all agree. All man dey inside the room, everybody for the inside room, we agree. Say okay, this una say una dey provide this service. Una show we say una don't put measures in place for provide this service, and then we say him come in for make sure say una don't provide this service. Then we don't ensure say there's value for money.
All right, providing service. If somebody they pay for particular service in need for get some one concern and get is get for do with computer. The students and say that they pay for computer, so man from where you go university take more than one they touch computer. So within different district you could do as the minister for make sure say some of them concern there, you know, you able tap them or reduce them.
So earlier I mentioned say part of the dialogue would on go the administration and for and define within NTR so mean. And there's been some, especially when it comes to this computer, there's been some misunderstanding. So at the end of this consultative process, we go there now in a position for reports to the students and for say, this is not the name we don't give for this service and it will be provided, whatever the case may be. Because when you say computer charge, it's easy for somebody thinks, I get access to computer. And you cannot blame person for thinking so. But if we don't get this dialogue, we really understand what the universities they mean by that, then we can communicate standing up effectively to the students and minimize this confusion.
All right. Continue for the way inside the program. In name na Dr. Aja Ramatulai, Wuri, in the Minister of Tertiary and Higher Education, as there for talk about the ministry in work and serve the education week. We go start the program. Now, Good Morning Salon. We come to you live from Radio Democracy 98.1 FM. We go for a break. We will continue the program. Good Morning Salon.